Hello and welcome to the Tuesday Talk Show powered by Essential Print Services based on Pride Park in Derby with me, your host, Yvonne Gorman. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday Talk Show. We are live, so anything can happen and we want to hear from you. So if you're watching this live or on catch up, send in your comments and questions. We'd love to give you a shout out. But today's my special guest is Mark Mcintosh from Mmacaron in Ashby-de-la-Zouch. Over to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm great, thanks Yvonne. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm delighted to have you on the show today because you are a client of Essential Print Services and we've not actually had a proper chat before. So this is all new to me as well as our audience. So I'm getting this firsthand as well. So this is going to be fantastic. Mark, tell us who you are, what you're doing and whereabouts you are. Oh, we've lost Mark. Mark, are you there? Oh, here he is. He's back on again.
Hello, Yvonne, can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you, yes. We lost you for a second. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you a minute.
Oh, here we go. Well, this is live, ladies and gentlemen. Live, unedited, unscripted. Anything can happen. Just like that. It's absolutely fine. Can you hear me, Mark? Mark,
I can hear you, yes.
Fantastic. Wonderful stuff. Mark, tell us who you are and what you do over there in Ashby-de-la-Zouch.
Okay, so morning everybody. I'm Mark Mcintosh and I am the proud owner of Mmacaron Patisserie in Ashby-de-la-Zouch. It's my new venture since leaving Rolls-Royce, and I'm executive head chef and also the person that runs everything at the same time. So yeah, that's me.
What was you doing, Mark? You mentioned there Rolls-Royce. What was you doing before you started the business, and why did you decide to do it in the first place?
Well, lots of questions there, Yvonne, actually. To start with then, I mean, my background has been in aerospace ever since I left college and university. So I'm a trained aeronautical engineer. I joined Rolls-Royce pretty much after uni, so I'd been with the company for the best part of 19 years. A number of roles that I had in Rolls-Royce. I mean, I've moved all over the company and various different positions, different disciplines, so engineering, marketing, business development, project management. Yeah, I'd built up quite an extensive career in the company, and then to answer your second question, so why did I change after that?
That's very different
length of time
you were doing before.
Yeah. So a complete departure from what I was doing. I guess lockdown and COVID really it struck Rolls-Royce and the aviation industry quite hard, and it also led a lot of people, I think, to reevaluate what they really want to achieve. So yeah, I kind of sat back and really reassessed my life and talked to my wife, who also works at Rolls-Royce. That's where we met, about what we were going to do, and was I going to stay at Rolls-Royce for the next 20-25 years? Was I going to stay in the industry for that length of time? Or did I want to go off and do something different? When we had those discussions, it was quite clear that it was always going to be me, not her, that was going to do that. And she very clearly wanted to stay at Rolls-Royce and stay in the corporate world. But I guess over the last few years, and then COVID in particular, kind of spurred these thoughts on even further. Was a desire really to own and run my own company, and then really it was about deciding then at that point, well, what did I enjoy doing, what was I good at, what was my vision for what my new company was going to be, and lo and behold, we ended up with a patisserie.
So just go through briefly the thought process of choosing a patisserie over anything else you could have chosen to run your own business.
So it really comes back to that point I made earlier about, well, what are you good at and what do you really enjoy doing? I I'd always had baking as a hobby. It's something that I've always really enjoyed. There was always a comment in my household that if I wasn't at work or on my bike, you'd find me in the kitchen. Um, so so it was really taking that and then thinking about, well, could I take that to the next level, and actually turn it from a hobby into a business. And actually, although it seems like a complete departure from what I was doing at Rolls-Royce, there's a lot of skills and experiences and knowledge that I can bring into running a patisserie, not just in the business sense, but also in terms of the creations that we make here. So although I have 2 pastry chefs working for me, a lot of the menu development was done by me and my very first pastry chef that joined Mmacaron. And so a lot of it is my ideas, and yeah, bringing my engineering skill into that, turning things from more of an art into a scientific process. That's more what pastry work is about than actually a lot of creative flair and just chucking a few bits in the oven and hoping it works. It's actually quite a scientific process that we go through.
And what's your wife's name, Mark? What's your wife's name?
Louise.
And how did you sell the idea of a patisserie to Louise? Does she see your vision as clearly as you, or did you have to twist her arm a little bit?
Yeah, I have to say it didn't take much convincing. I think when I explained the idea to her, I mean, she clearly sees how happy I am in the kitchen and creating everything that I create. So yeah, it didn't take much of convincing to get her to come round. And then when I explained to her the kind of ultimate aim of Mmacaron, because she got my vision for where I want to take the business overall straight away. So that was good.
Fantastic. That's definitely helps, doesn't it, to have the support?
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So it's always really interesting, Mark, to find out people's personal circumstances before they launch the new business, because quite often people thinking of running their own company might think that you have to have everything perfect to start. You might have to have a wad of cash, or you might have to have a loan from the bank, or you might have to do all sorts of things. And it's not necessarily the case, is it? So what was your personal circumstances? What sort of risks were you about to take? If you don't mind divulging into some of the nitty gritty bits for us.
No, absolutely. I guess I was in a very fortunate position from a financial standpoint, that with me leaving Rolls-Royce at the time that I did, I was actually in quite a financially stable position with a fair amount of capital to invest into the business. That's one of the reasons why I ended up going and starting a patisserie, because I knew what the costs were up front. I knew I had to have a building. I knew I had to invest in some pretty serious equipment. I need to buy staff in effectively, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew what I was getting myself into. The building we're in right now is in the heart of Ashby. We renovated it because it was in quite a poor state of repair. So we needed some capital investment for that. I've been fortunate enough that we haven't had to take any loans from any banks or anything to start the business. We could have done, and there were plenty of banks out there that were supportive. But actually, in reality, we didn't need it. That said, that comes with a lot of risk. I've effectively put all of my savings into the business, and now it's got to work, really. It's got to start turning around some money.
It's got to work, people. Mark, launching a patisserie during lockdown, where did your faith come from in terms of knowing it will work? Why choose a patisserie? Not just because of your passion for baking and making the delicious things that you do, But did you do any research into the sector? Where did your faith come from to go, this is going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at a few businesses that were sort of aspiring to get Mmacaron to become ultimately. One in particular, which is Betty's in up in the north. So I always say that ultimately my aim is to get Mmacaron to become the Betty's of the Midlands. So when you look at their kind of recipe for their success, it's all about handmade, good quality baking, and then all packaged and delivered to the end user with exceptionally good service, and all made to look really professional and high end. So that told me that the model is there that could work. As to why it works in Ashby, I kind of went back to my own experience, having lived in Ashby for 11 years and never really being able to find what I wanted. So, and then the more I spoke to people and local business owners about the same sort of thing, they all said, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. You know, Ashby could really do with one of those." And yeah, and I think the other factor that came into it as well was Ashby's really located in a brilliant position. You know, it's got a fabulous high street. It's got quite a growing affluent town on its own, but it also sits in between several large cities. And people like the idea of coming to Ashby to visit because it is that nice little market town. You know, it's got a lot of history, it's got tourist attractions here and all that kind of stuff as well. So when you add all that into the mix, Ashby was a really good move for us, I think, to open this business to start with.
Definitely compelling for a location, that's for sure. So I'm going to dive straight into some more questions because we are flying through time, as we always do on the Tuesday Talk Show. If you're watching this live or on catch up, we'd love to hear from you. Please don't be shy. Send in your comments and questions. What is the hardest thing about what you do, Mark?
Well, aside from getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Did your wife know about the 4 a.m. starts?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so aside from that, I think the hardest thing about what I do is I'm an utter perfectionist, and trying to run a business like this to meet my standards, it requires a lot of me communicating my vision and those standards to my team, and also how I sell that to my customers as well, to try and communicate what Mmacaron is all about. You know, because when we launched, we got a lot of comments about just being another cafe, which it absolutely isn't. And I think now we've been open for the best part of 5 months. I think people actually realise what we are now. Yeah. But yeah, I think the hardest part of running my own business, particularly this one, is communicating and meeting the vision and standards that I've set for Mmacaron to achieve, and getting everybody bought into it.
And if and when you decide to scale as well, that's going to be difficult to make sure that it's the same throughout all your locations, and all that passion that you have comes out with your managers and your staff as well. That's going to take. But I'm not sure what your plans are for your next location. Is that imminently, or are you going to get yourself bedded into Ashby a little bit more first?
It's in my business plan. So yeah, I have a short-term, medium and long-term plan. Most people that know me wouldn't be surprised to hear that, but so hopefully in the next couple of years we'll be looking at Mmacaron number 2.
So your business plan, Mark, was that just for yourself and your vision? Did you have to show it to anybody, or is it just for your personal benefit?
No, it was just entirely for me. I mean, again, those who know me and worked with me at Rolls-Royce know that I like to have a plan for everything. So it just gave me a bit of comfort that I was going into my business with my eyes wide open. Whether or not we're actually on our business plan or not, I don't know yet. I think we're ahead right now, but I've not had the time yet to go back and just cross-check. But I will do it at some point.
It will be very interesting to see how similar they both are, reality versus the plan. So that'd be really interesting to find out and catch up with you on a later date. It's not all negative stuff, but before we go over to some really good stuff about running your own business, when was the last time you was at the end of your tether? It happens to us all. I don't know about you, but every day is like a roller coaster. One day, ditching the company. Next minute, I'm like, got loads of big plans for it. It really is like up and down every single day. When was the last time you at the end of your tether? But more importantly, how did you get yourself back on the right mindset? What sort of techniques, what sort of things do you do to get yourself out of that funk?
So literally 2 weeks ago, we, I think everyone knows, it's been well reported in the press that staffing of hospitality industry at the moment is a nightmare. And we felt that at Mmacaron, finding the right people and then keeping hold of them is very, very challenging. To the point where 2 weeks ago, we actually lost our two chefs, which for a patisserie is a nightmare, because how we're supposed to keep the business running with no pastry chefs without me literally baking 20 hours a day, which is impossible. They were both leaving for the right reasons, not because they didn't enjoy working here, but that was a tough week to go through. Now, fortunately, we had built up such a reputation already that I actually had two fully qualified and very experienced pastry chefs walk through the door and ask for jobs the next week. So that was great, because we didn't even need to advertise to get hold of them either.
That was a close shave,
which at the moment is absolutely unheard of. Yeah, yeah. So that was luck, pure luck. But also, I would like to think there's a little bit about the brand and the vision that we've communicated externally, actually attracting the right talent to the business, because it's something different to people, for people to grab hold of and become part of. So, and in terms of how did I not lose my head in that first week when I found out? I think two things is a very supportive wife and family, and the second thing is I get out quite a bit on my bike when I can do, and actually just getting out and having some clear time out on my bike for a couple of hours to clear my head and think, right, what am I going to do?
Interesting, very interesting. Thanks for being so honest and open about that as well. Gosh, I'd like to think that the two new pastry chefs came in because of your brand and your vision, but also maybe a sprinkling of universe magic, just attracting the right people to you as well. It could be a little element there. So then, what's the good stuff, Mark? Why is it so good running your own business? Do you know yet? You've not been open that long. So have you had the feelings of, proud moments? What's the good stuff about running your own company?
Yeah, I think the two biggest things for me, number one is the direct feedback you get from your customers. It is, I still get humbled every day when I hear them. So, you know, people walk in and they say, oh, well, wow, this looks brilliant, or tastes amazing, or, you know, we made their day by being able to supply them with a cake for celebration or something. So that's really good. That's really rewarding. I think the second thing for me personally is it is very empowering to be able to run your own company. There's a good and a bad side to this, to what I'm going to say now, but you know, every decision is yours.
Yes.
Which is brilliant from an empowerment standpoint, but it also means you're exceedingly busy as well. And like you say, as we scale up,
for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, it's that time of the show in this particular series, Mark, where you can ask me anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is live, unedited. Don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what Mark's going to ask me. So, Mark, over to you. Ask me anything.
So I guess I'm going to flip your question round back to you. So what made you go into printing?
Oh gosh, well, I'm not sure we've got that much time really, but in very briefly, when I left school, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was good at organising stuff. I loved writing, like creative writing, being creative, and I loved stationery. And my dad's been in the printing industry all his life. So I started off writing press releases for a local PR agency right from leaving school. I didn't go down the university or college route at all. And having worked for various different agencies and print houses, I sort of took all the things that I liked about them, what I think worked well, and put to one side all the things I didn't like. And I thought, actually, I could do this. I didn't have any aspirations of running my own business at the time. But then when I started networking in my early 20s, lots of people were saying to me, Yvonne, you'd be really good at running your own company. And I'm like, no, not me. I don't want all that hassle. I just want to work for someone and do a good job. And then when more and more people started telling me the same thing, I was like, actually, they might have something in this. So I thought, right, this is the time to try it out. So I did, and that was 10 years ago, which I think is bonkers. But yeah, I think the one thing I didn't like about our industry at the time was a lot of some salespeople would go out and try and persuade customers to buy more than they needed. And when I would go into customers, I would see boxes of folders or leaflets or flyers that are now either out of date or they had no distribution plan for them. And they thought, I'll buy an extra 500. It's only a few quid more. But unless you've got a plan for the extra few hundred, don't buy it, because that money that you think you're saving could be used elsewhere. And I just think it's a really bad tactic, a short-term tactic as well, to get people to buy more now, but not necessarily use it. And that's bad for our industry's reputation, bad for the client's budget, and bad for the planet as well, more importantly. So yeah, that's one of my passions, to make sure that we buy smarter, just buy what you need. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Thank you for that. A little brief overview.
That's okay.
We are sailing through time, as I knew we would. If you're watching this live or on catch up, send in your comments and questions. We'd love to hear from you. I definitely will get back to you. Mark, looking through some of these questions, I want to make sure I get time to ask some of them. What is your biggest challenge in business right now?
I think my biggest one right now is, well, there's probably two actually that I would want to pick out. One is a timing thing, hopefully, but right now we are just coming out of our max negative cash position. So, you know, for the last 6 months, all I've seen is money going out the door. And whilst I see it coming back in the company as revenue, a lot of that isn't then converting into profits and cash for me just yet. Now we are only 5 months in trading, so it's kind of And my wife keeps telling me I have to be patient, and that it will get there. But yeah, I think that's my biggest challenge right now, is managing cash flow when we're just in that really tight spot
Yes,
of coming out of your investment curve.
definitely.
So, and then the second one, which I think it probably is true for every business, but more so when you do the sort of thing that we're doing here, is managing or understanding demand cycles.
Oh,
Because we make everything fresh on site every day, I could make croissant and sell none on one day and then completely sell out the next day, which is just really, really hard to manage. And there aren't many things that we make where we can move them over to the next day to sell them on, because that's not really how we're managing our production and the quality of our produce. So yeah, I'm finding that exceedingly challenging. It's not a stable demand picture at all. We've started in the last 5 months to recognise patterns, like Friday and Saturday is always twice as busy as the rest of the week. But yeah, managing that is difficult, and ultimately for me that just ends up as being a cost drag on the business if we can't sell everything on the day that we make it.
So if you're watching this live or on catch up and you can help Mark in any way, I'm sure he would love to hear from you about any insights you can offer him to managing that and understanding that demand cycle. Definitely, that is something I've not heard of before. So really interesting to find out how that pans out for you. What have you become better at saying no to? I can get the impression, Mark, that you really do want to, give your customers the fantastic experience with the surroundings of the patisserie, the service, the quality of the product. Are you one of those people that will say yes to everything? Are you a people pleaser, or are you quite good and disciplined about saying no to the right things?
I have become better at saying no. I think I've still got a way to go yet, to be honest with you. I think it's always in my psyche to keep my customers happy. And there is then this innate kind of objective in my brain to always say yes when a customer asks me to do something. We have said no to customers, and actually it's been quite good saying that, because what I've been able to do is actually support other local businesses in Ashby by saying no. So, for example, we had a lady in the other day that asked if we could do a celebration cake for her birthday. Now, she wanted something very specific, which isn't really what we do. Now, whilst we could have done it and distracted our chefs from their normal routines, we actually said no. But what I then did was pointed her in the direction of a company that I know could meet her requirement just down the road. So I think, I'm getting better at saying no, but probably a little way to go yet.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that one, especially in the early days. I would take on anything. And now, the really, really small pieces of work where people want something just photocopying. It's like, well, we're not a photocopy shop. Speak to so-and-so down the road. Here's a number of another person who can help you. And people do appreciate that, heading in the right direction, rather than you trying to spend your time, take yourself away from the normal routine that's bringing in the money. Don't get yourself too extracted. That's actually really good advice. Talking about advice, Mark, what advice would you give someone starting their own business right now? And how would they know that they're ready? How did you know that you were ready at the time?
How do I know I was ready? I think I was getting more and more frustrated with corporate life. Not that I didn't understand why certain things existed, but just getting frustrated with them, and the seeming kind of lack of ability to make things happen quickly in a large company. That eventually that got to me, and started to become a bit of a demotivator. Hence why the the switch to running my own business, where I could take that empowerment and accountability right up and, you know, really challenge and see what I could do myself, really. So yeah, that was that was how I knew I was ready. The advice I would give anybody else, I think, just go into it with your eyes open. I think you're right. You don't need to know everything and have an answer for everything on day one. But understanding what risks you're taking, and are those risks then worth the ultimate reward, I think is a healthy thought process to have. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can mitigate all those risks. I certainly haven't. And there have been things that have happened in the first 5 months of our operation that I could never have even seen coming. But you know, I think you just have to try and go in as much as possible with your eyes open. And the way of opening your eyes to what is out there and what is likely to happen is just seek input from as many people as you can. You don't have to listen to everything or act on everything, but you know, getting as many opinions, you might just find somebody comes up with an absolute gem of a risk or an idea that you can't think of yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but as a small business owner, I love how agile we are. Like you mentioned, the big corporates take so long to make such a small change, yet I can just get my laptop out and make that change straight away, there and then. And I love that flexibility. And one thing I have learned about myself during the past 10 years is how resourceful I am. If something goes wrong, like you say, if you get a side swipe with something you didn't even see coming, how resourceful we are as entrepreneurs. I think we definitely get a pat on the back for being able to take a situation and make a good solution out of it, for sure. Great advice, Mark. Yeah, thank you for that. So we're going to end up there. We are past our 30-minute mark. And again, like I say, these talks absolutely fly by. It's been absolutely fantastic to chat with you today. Where can people find you physically and virtually? Where can we get in touch with you?
So our new website is up and running now with all of our contact details on. So it's mmacaron.co.uk. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and physically we're located right on the high street in Ashby-de-la-Zouch, so right in the middle, right on Market Street. I think most of the town now knows where we are. So if you ask for Mmacaron, it's easily findable.
And where's the best place to park? You're definitely going to be a destination location, Mark. So where's the best place for people to park coming out of town?
So if you can find a space on the high street, it's free parking for an hour. If not, there are plenty of car parks all around Ashby.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I know from the many people that I know who've been to see you, they've been very complimentary about your patisserie, so you're definitely doing the right thing. We're going to wrap up the show right here, but we're going to come back to you for a final thought. That could be anything you want to maybe take away from today's chat, or maybe an inspirational quote that you quite like. So whilst I wrap up the show, Mark's going to think about his final thought. So that's me, Yvonne Gorman from Essential Print Services, host of a Tuesday talk show. If you've enjoyed this episode, there are loads more on the Tuesday Talk Show YouTube channel. So make sure you press the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of future episodes. We're now going to go back over to Mark Mcintosh for his final thought. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Yvonne. So I think my final thought would be there are a lot of people that I've spoken to that have said they always want to start their own business and they're not really sure whether or not they can or want to. So I think my advice would be, if you've got a vision and a good plan and you think it's the right time, go for it. Because if it works, then you've not lost. But if you don't do it, you'll never know.
Brilliant. That is fantastic point there to end the show. Thank you, Mark, for your time today. Really do appreciate it. And for anyone wanting to know more about Mark, please do get in touch with him. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. So that's it for the Tuesday Talk Show. See you next time. Bye.